In this episode, we will talk about the truth about the future of the Philippines. Yesterday, the dollar breached 59 pesos for a few minutes. They're doing all they can to hold it down, but it's going higher. Two reasons for this: the Trump rally and the deteriorating economic news here. I see neither of these changing soon. I predict the dollar will reach 60 pesos, just like the yen breached 140. 60 is a major psychological point, but the pressure is enormous. What happens after that? Most countries, including the Philippines, borrow their debt in dollars. So when the exchange drops $1, it changes the debt load. This is why the central bank tries to intervene and soften things, but they can only do so much. What if the exchange runs higher, like Japan? After it broke the 140 barrier, it ran up to the 50s, the 150s, now trading at 156. A higher dollar means more expensive gas, propane, rice, and all imported goods. The inflation is worse because of the VAT. This will make all the economic numbers worse and increase the burden on all but the rich. The next presidential election is in 2027. By then, if this trend is not reversed, things could be much worse. I am very concerned about the near-term future. This man makes several good points by sharing this thought about the economics of the Philippines. He is correct about everything he says. However, personally, I am more concerned about the ideology and the people of this country and the fact that they have no direction. The rich are rich and the poor are poor, and the divide is getting really big. The rich go abroad, and the rich only deal in USD and currency. They exchange everything to the dollar. So, they actually make money if you think about it. If you know your economics, trading, and US to peso conversion, you are well aware of the trends, therefore you are not affected as much as the local people. Because you are exchanging large sums of money into US currency, and that's how you can hold on to your wealth. But the middle class and lower class do not do this on a regular basis. They do not go ahead and exchange their pesos into dollars and then exchange it back when the rate is good, thus spending more money during the day and regular life living. However, the Filipino people are not educated enough to think this way. Not only that, culturally they will never stand up for anything, no matter what the case is, whether that is inflation, government, any type of authority. They will simply bow down. If tomorrow someone announces the price of onions at 300 pesos per kilo or 900 pesos per kilo or higher, they will simply accept it. It just does not make sense. They will accept it and do nothing about it. I am curious what others think of this situation. Intrepid President says, getting rich and delivering zero value with no accountability is the real issue. PLDT as one example. High profits and disgraceful service. Precisely. All these businesses operate at the very bare minimum, which is absolutely disgraceful. They make tens of millions while the people receive nothing in return. That can be said about the internet, the food. Everything in this country is subpar at first world prices. The rich just simply pocket everything while the poor continue to pay and get less and less. Even the portions and servings, everything, people simply just take it in the face and accept it. They do not do anything about it. Nobody complains. There's no uproar of any kind. It makes no sense to me how these people live through this country and accept the way things are. Another person writes, resigned to be happy, says, my gut feeling and observation is that Philippines is so far behind on the number of homes needed that the market remains strong despite economic news or trends. This mirrors what we saw in the US when they fell behind on construction during the 2008-2012 recession. We were behind on new units built by over 2 million, 500,000 annually, that inflated pricing from 2015 to 2019. The Philippines has never kept with the unit builds versus units needed, so pricing remains inflated. The stopgap here and also during those process years in the US was people living in multi-generational household. Excellent point made regarding housing in this country. Coin Audit Pro says weak peso is good in the long run. Expensive imports means pressure to increase domestic production, and exporting becomes more profitable, which is also increases production here. China has kept their currency weak for decades now because of this. Only recently they were forced to float their currency because other countries pressured them. Filipinos don't understand this and cheer that the peso is strong, but it's not how it works. Precisely, this person makes absolute sense, especially when he says the Filipinos are proud of the strength of the peso without understanding what it means economically. It's all about exports and imports. It matters whether the currency is strong or not. Upper Hand also says, way back in July this year, analysis already predicted USD peso rate to be at 60 by year end. That's far before US elections. Looks like they're right, and they have metrics we commoners don't usually know. Of course, I personally am by no means an economist or someone that really understands how a country's money operates and works. Also, there are things in the background that we do not know about corruption, government involvement, mafias. There is just simply too much for the common person to try to understand and change. But as a group, we can make a difference if we stop buying things at the prices listed, or at least make our voices heard. If you're Filipino, of course, you can have an impact, especially these days with social media. You can apply pressure to your government and to these huge retailers, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. It's simply not in the DNA. Interesting Cry says, listen, I was gone for almost 20 years and the Philippines barely changed in the time span economically. What I mean is that the vast majority are so poor. Don't let BGC fool you, which in my opinion is a dystopian place. Can you imagine a place that only caters to the top 1% of the population and people proceeds to call it progress? Nothing is going to change in this country until they abolish the restrictions in the Constitution regarding foreign ownership. The thing about foreign ownership is that it can be beneficial if done correctly and right. The problem is government corruption and officials, they will pocket any proceeds, any progress, anything left that's supposed to go to the people. That is why that will never happen in the Philippines. Everyone has their hand in your pocket. Have you ever tried to receive a shipment from abroad? How many times do you have to pay tax? How many different fees are there? Sometimes the cost of the taxes and the fees and the border and the customs and everything else adds up more than the value of the item you try to bring across the pond from the US. Nothing here makes sense at all. Even shipping and delivery, things like Lazada and Shopee, places like Vietnam and Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, majority of the items you buy have zero shipping fee, even if it's a small item, or at least not so much, a small amount. In the Philippines, the shipping costs 3 times more than the simple case for your phone or t-shirt or hat or any item you want to buy through Lazada. So sometimes you much rather pay 4 times the price at a store instead of waiting 2 weeks and still paying the same amount, even though it's, let's say, 50 pesos on Shopee. When you add the 150 delivery fee and 2 weeks wait, it's definitely worth simply buying it from the mall. These things make a big difference in a society. And I'm just picking small things, of course, but imagine applying that thought process to an entire country's economics. They want to use the excuse of typhoons, but that is not an issue. That's not why this country is behind. Does it affect things? Of course. But look at Japan. How often do they get hit with earthquakes? And they're some of the most progressive people in this world. It is time now for yesterday's best and worst comment. The best comment from yesterday is from Silver Fox with €5 donation to the channel. Much appreciated, my friend. Excellent. The next best comment is from MSR4455. If you think, even subconsciously, that your life revolves around women, you've already lost. How many of us can relate to that comment? Imagine all the time you spent after women. Imagine all the hours you spent talking to someone online. Imagine how many days you wasted in your life chasing tail. If you applied that towards anything else in life, imagine you went to the gym every time you spoke to a woman. How many hours of health would you have gained? Imagine you dedicated that time to growing yourself financially. What would have become of you then? Imagine how much money you would save if you stopped paying for these women's so-called 1,000 peso rides here and back, pretending like they're not getting paid for what they're doing and only receiving transportation costs. There are so many things wrong with this world, and us men paying for women that don't deserve it is one of the main reasons why we are where we are. There is no worse comment, but School NYC has donated $5 to the channel. Thanks. I could go on forever, but let's face it, you're older now, and with nothing to do, you'll likely be bored no matter where you are. You're not in a public school anymore, where you could hang out with friends and after class and play basketball. When I was 20 years old, I had the time of my life traveling for a year. I was young, desirable, living in hostels, and full of energy. But when you were 20, did you really want a 60-year-old woman? On top of that, if you don't have a solid financial base, say $5,000 a month income and 6 figures saved, you could find yourself stuck in a rut. You need a comfortable home as a foundation and enough money to continue traveling either on your own or with the right companions. A young woman around you 24/7 can become a burden, especially if you can't afford to entertain her. Perhaps a psychologist could help you with this, and you could explore medication to help you relax and regain a sense of peace, maybe even sleep more. Just don't turn to alcohol, as so many expats do. It's a dangerous road. This comment is regards to loneliness in the Philippines. Once again, YouTube tried to suppress this from me. I did not see this donation sticker super thanks since YouTube wants this channel to fail. Thank you for your support. If you want to support the truth, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. God bless.